Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I stand to offer my support to this bill that is before us at this time, the Special Prosecutor Bill. But before I do so, Mr. President, I asked for your leeway to extend condolences to the family members of the former Speaker Alse, and also to wish our former clerk, Ms. Lindell Gustav, a happy retirement and all the best as she continues her journey in life. May it be an exciting one for her after having worked so hard. And of course, congratulations to our lady Julian Alfred, as well as the team who participated in the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. I want to also extend hearty congratulations to the government of St. Lucia and the people of St. Lucia, especially the Rastafarian community and the arts fraternity, cultural groups, artists, CDF, for this wonderful celebration of Emancipation Day, which was executed on the holiday Monday. Mr. President, it was refreshing. It was exhilarating. It touched my spirit. Because as an educator, once an educator, always an educator. As an educator in primary school, Mr. President, I taught history. And I will never forget my students in a dramatic presentation trying to present the group in theater when the slaves were told that they were free. And I remember a particular student jumping around the classroom. Her name is Anselma Joseph, and she recently celebrated her birthday. Jumping around the classroom shouting, "Freedom! Freedom!" Mr. President, this child was in her element. And I swear she was there on the fields with our forefathers when we got emancipated. So I think our forefathers, our ancestors were proud of us for that celebration. It was a good start, never before seen in this country. And I pray and I ask that we continue to make them proud of us, not only in celebrating, but also in the way we live each day, to continue to be free in our spirit, in our minds, in our person. Mr. President, I wish to quote, as I start my presentation on the bill, Alice O'Connor, a Russian-born American writer. Her her pen name was Ayn Rand, A-Y-N, pronounced Ayn Rand, a writer and philosopher who indicates, when the law no longer protects you from the corrupt, but protects the corrupt from you, you know your nation is doomed. I repeat, when the law no longer protects you from the corrupt, but protects the corrupt from you, you know your nation is doomed. Mr. President, this bill, this Special Prosecutor Bill, is in the public interest, meaning it is for the welfare and well-being of the general public, Pepe Settlisi, the people of St. Lucia, because it shall lead to the investigation and prosecution of the dishonest use of public funds. Public funds meaning money belonging to the people of St. Lucia. And Mr. President, if all the gung-ho, back and forth, and be careful what we investigate, Mr. President, there's no need for all of this, you know. Once you tamper with the people's money, Mr. President, deal with that. That's clear. That's as simple. There's no rocket science in this. Once you use or mismanage the people's money, you have to account. Regardless of who you are, where you come from, what side you are on, you have to account. And this is what the bill is saying clearly. There is no need to quarrel. There's no need to fuss. There's no need to fight. There's no need to say karma. Mr. President, what is happening here? Okay? And it's about public officials or public officers. And I may add, people who should know better. If it's found that any public officer or any public official is found to have mismanaged the funds of the people of the country, of course deal with that, Mr. President. Once people are at that level in the country, we ought to know better. If we are found guilty, means we did it. So deal with it. In the preliminary section, the section 3 states, page 7, that this act does not affect the authority of a few of them, but I want to specifically deal with the DPP and the Attorney General. The DPP under section 73 of the Constitution of St. Lucia, cap 1.01, and another enactment, and B, the Attorney General, to prosecute a civil claim or discontinue or withdraw a civil claim on behalf of the government. Mr. President, contrary to the submissions of the opposition, the legislation shall not take over the functions of these offices, but rather provide a dedicated, specific focus on the prosecution for corrupt conduct as referred to in the schedule of the bill. Mr. President, we must consider that the Director of Public Prosecutions and his office have a multitude of criminal matters being prosecuted or to prosecute, as we heard earlier from Senator Diddley. Offenses such as drug crimes, money laundering, homicides, sex crimes, theft crimes, traffic offenses, and the like. They are bombarded, Mr. President. Also consider the Attorney General's office. They too have a multitude of civil matters before the courts, such as defamation, breach of contract, negligence resulting in injury or death, etc., etc. Mr. President, our government has highlighted a targeted focus on investigating and prosecuting for corrupt conduct of a public officer or public official. It is imperative to have a special prosecutor and an administrative staff to adequately conduct the work proposed in the bill. The work, Mr. President, there might be a lot of work for this special prosecutor. And the small team, very efficient but small team, there might be so much to investigate. It might be too numerous to mention. But you know what, Mr. President? The people of St. Lucia demand answers. And I heard Senator Paulius asking for investigations. And it's beautiful because the bill speaks to the fact that anyone can write to the special prosecutor and indicate that they have a case, they have information, and they wish to submit, so the special prosecutor can investigate. So instead of sitting here, standing here and telling who to investigate, put pen to paper and do this quickly. Once this is initiated by the office of the Ministry of the Public Service and advised by the Attorney General, quick and in a hurry, right to the special prosecutor, and investigation starts. There is no brouhaha about this, Mr. President. Simple.com. As I continue, Mr. President, Section 8, subsection 3. The DPP can refer matters to the special prosecutor which cannot be withdrawn except with the DPP's consent. And under the powers of the special prosecutor, subject to the powers of the Director of Public Prosecutions under Section 73 of the Constitution of St. Lucia, Cap 101, the special prosecutor may perform any function in relation to the institution, carrying on, and withdrawal of a prosecution for an offense against the laws of St. Lucia, and may prosecute a matter in his or her own name. 2. Where the special prosecutor institutes a prosecution against a person, the special prosecutor may withdraw the matter, and the court shall discharge the defendant. Just like in court. 3. The special prosecutor shall not withdraw a matter instituted or referred to him or her by the Director of Public Prosecutions unless the Director of Public Prosecutions consents in writing. So there's always a paper trail. The evidence will always be there. No matter what people may think, we will do this with transparency. There will be everything above board to be done. Additionally, the bill is for public officers and public officials. The Constitution of St. Lucia defines a public officer as a person holding or acting in any public office, and a public office is defined as any office of emolument in the public service. In the public service. Therefore, Mr. President, let us be cognizant that St. Lucia is a small island state where many people can be related or connected. So this bill, by appointing a special prosecutor, is especially helpful because, for example, an allegation against a sitting public officer or official can be handled by a special prosecutor rather than a prosecutor within the DPP's chambers, who would or could be in the position of investigating their superiors or persons at that level of the executive, which can be very intimidating, depending on the power and might being wielded or exercised by that public officer or official. Can somebody within the DPP's office, a prosecutor, investigate his or her superior? It's only within the special prosecutor's office that this can be done. So there is no fear, there is no intimidation. Once the evidence is presented, the investigation proceeds. This is what we want. No stoppage, no intimidation, just a clear-cut investigation to find out, to show accountability in this country. Part 2 of the bill, section 24, speaks of prevention of corrupt conduct. Prevention. And, Mr. President, it says in section 2, part 1, a public officer or a public official shall not engage in corrupt conduct. A public officer or a public official shall not engage in corrupt conduct. 2A and B, page 14. If charged or convicted, there's a liable fine of $300,000 or imprisonment for 5 years or both. Mr. President, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Public officers, public officials know that. They ought not to engage in corrupt conduct. So if an investigation is to be lodged, have no fear. Because we all know that we ought not to engage in corrupt conduct. There should be no fear, no anxiety, nothing at all. Just let the office of the special prosecutor be installed, set up, and the work gets done. Because around the table in this room, I have heard that we all agree in one voice that St. Lucia is going down the wrong path. And it has been so for a few years. It's time to clean up this mess. It is time to do what is necessary to make St. Lucia Saint Lucia. Not like Lucia and Helen. We want a clean country where there is good governance. There is accountability. There is honesty. There's integrity in public office. We want that. So unanimously together, we are pushing for that. So even I heard the leader of the opposition warning public servants, etc. Yes, they must be warned that they ought not to engage in corrupt conduct. It is there. They must be warned. Be warned. Because, Mr. President, if a public officer allows any official to push their hand or to make them or to bribe them to do, at the end of the day, they will have to pay and face the consequences. When we work in the public office, we have to stand our ground on principle. We must. Because, Mr. President, there is a Creole phrase, si pani si tu es pani vole. Si mwen sa vou san vole kou vin mande mwen pou fan bagay ba ou, makay situe ou. Depi se vole, fey pa kou, mwen pakay situe ou. So when they come for me, what defense do I have? Stand on principle. That's what I say to the public officers in this country. Mr. President, in my last presentation in this chamber on the Firearm Amendment Bill, I quoted the Italian criminologist and philosopher, politician, Cesare Beccaria, and he posited that government should work to prevent crime rather than focus on punishment, unquote. He stated more, that legislation is not about punishing people, but to serve as a deterrent, unquote. That the penalties, the laws will make public officers and public officials think twice about mismanaging the funds of the people of this country. That is what this legislation is about. It's sending a clear message to public officers and public officials gone and to come. You mess with the funds of this country, somebody will pay. We are too small. We do not have excess resources. And we can't afford to have people just take and take and take. No, it has to stop. It has to stop. We are sending a clear message with this bill. The people's money, we have to act with integrity. We must work honestly. We must demonstrate accountability. I make no apologies. And whoever gets caught, it could be my nenen, Mr. President. Go for them. Go for them. Anyone. Mr. President Beccaria also stated that the aim of punishment is not to cause pain for the offender, and may I add, family and friends, but to prevent them from doing it again, and to prevent other people from committing a crime. It's not to cause pain for the offender, whoever is caught. It's not about causing them discomfort, although I hope they feel discomfort. But it's to send a message to the young people of this country who think they can just jump into the public service straight out of college and just become rich overnight and nothing to account. No. No. It cannot be like this, Mr. President. We need to make an example of the few people in our country who are doing it. Beccaria believes in punishment, that the punishment should be certain and it should be swift. And I see here in the bill, it speaks to that. 300,000, sometimes in the case of million, or both, 300,000 or imprisonment. Mr. President, 300,000 even too small. Even too small. Because there are some serious, serious matters to be dealt with in this country. I look forward to the Ministry of the Public Service, on advice from the Attorney General, to set up the terms and conditions of employment for the special prosecutor. I say let us act with haste. This is urgent. Ça fait payer, sérieux. L'argent paye, sérieux. And I listened to young Senator Kejiano, and she speaks to growing up as a young person and in a single parent home. She speaks to managing her home, her children, her resources. You understand? And she balances home life, work life, etc. And she sees what kind of example are we setting for a young senator like this. She needs to know when she comes into an appointment like this that it has to be with integrity, accountability. But if she sees public officials doing anything, she will just figure, based on how her mom has raised her, she may not, and another might just do it. It is very easy for our young people to be swayed, Mr. President. It is very easy. We need to stop. And I heard Senator Polius almost sending a little bit of it sounded like a mild threat. In fact, that's how I took it. Be careful what you wish for. Senator Polius is telling the government of St. Lucia, who's trying to implement a bill to fight corruption in the public service, to tell the government, be careful what you wish for. Am I not trying to understand this? And I want to say to my learned colleague, what we wish for is good governance. What we wish for is integrity in public office. What we wish for is transparency. What we wish for is accountability. There's no way to threaten the government about this. This is what the people of St. Lucia voted for and expect. That we govern with integrity and we do what is necessary to make this country a saint again. So I stand here with no apologies for it. And I stand here not feeling threatened by it, even if it costs me my life. I believe in it. If we cannot stand for anything, we'll fall for anything. We got to stand up for something in this country. Regardless of who appointed us, we've got to stand up and say, if it's wrong, regardless of who it is. Nous pas savons ce que tu es. We need to clean up this mess, Mr. President. Let's be calm. Let the truth guide this process. And I'm happy in section 25 that the complaint to the special prosecutor, that the complaint can be made in writing by anybody who has grounds. Section 26, protection of persons making complaints. Any member of the society who makes a complaint in good faith should and would feel confident and comforted that there shall be no retribution, no vengeance, no punishment, or no litigation, no legal action against them as a result. Good governance must exist in this land. Mr. President, we've come so far to see our small country fall apart because of corruption. We need to do something. And I close with the words again of Alice O'Connor. When the law no longer protects you from the corrupt, but protects the corrupt from you, you know your nation is doomed. Mr. President, our nation, St. Lucia, will not be doomed. Our laws will protect against the corrupt. We will investigate them. We will prosecute them. And we will, if needs be, take back all what they were left with. I thank you.